one thing I've learned is that it's okay to make mistakes as long as you make those mistakes knowing that you're going to have to learn from them. And
Mm.
whenever I go out and do something, I try to learn as much as I can before doing it. But I always know that there's going to be some sort of contingency that I can't account for. Therefore, have to be adapting. And so, if there was one thing that I would tell anyone to actually think about before doing is like, how am I going to be adapting? How am I going to be moldable in the sense that I'm not going to come in stiff? I have to be flexible. And so if you're flexible, if you're willing to admit mistakes and you're willing to pivot at the spot, you're good. If not, it's not going to work out.
How much of that flexibility do you think comes from personal accountability and responsibility of your own actions?
I think it all comes back actually to starting caddying when I was 13 years old. I
Mm.
started caddying because I wanted to play club volleyball, but my parents couldn't afford it. And so I needed a job. And if you try to find a job at 13 years old, there's not many places that hire other than the caddying. So just very fortunate for me that my local caddy master came to my middle school and was like, "Hey, I'm hiring." And so I ended up signing up for caddying, even though I had no clue what golf was and never stepped foot on a golf course. So to your last question, I had no clue of being on a golf course carrying someone else's bag, and I made so many mistakes. But I was pretty determined, so I learned from those mistakes and I improved upon them. And so when I think about everything I've done so far in my life, it's always like, yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing at times, like getting myself into things, but I'm determined to learn. I'm determined to improve myself. And I realize that everything I do is a learning opportunity and a stepstone to be better. So it all comes back from caddying.
Mm. So the caddy position was able to switch your mentality. Was that, would you say that was more of your turning point from a learning perspective of mindset?
For sure. When you caddy, you are usually caddying for very successful people. And so, because, you know, who are you playing golf? Who's playing golf at 4 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon, right? It's either retired folk or very successful business folk. And as a caddy, you get to know that your golfer really well. So you get to ask them a lot of personal questions you wouldn't get to ask otherwise. And I learned so much from the members and guests I caddied for that I realized that they all were very driven people. They all were go getters and they all were willing to make mistakes in this pursuit of success. And so when I think about that, applying that to my life, that's exactly what I try to do. I try to be a go getter. I try to learn as much as I can, and I realize that I got to go start doing things, even if I make a few mistakes along the road.
That's something that I'm personally working on myself, especially, I mean, with exceptional undergrads. I had this as an idea for like forever at this point, a couple of years that I've been working on it. And always like planned, like, okay, like this is what I'm going to do. And like, I just need to execute all of this plan. And I found myself stagnant. I couldn't like move. I couldn't do anything. And I think that that's a position that a lot of other undergrads and college students are in because it's tough to take that jump knowing that there might be failure, jumping in this uncertainty of, oh my gosh, like this is fun, I want to do it, but I don't know how to do it. And it almost brings along this almost imposter syndrome that I've felt even myself sometimes. And I know in other podcasts I've been like, imposter syndrome, it's not really that real, like just kind of do it. But I mean, I've felt that sometimes myself, honestly, of I actually don't know really what I'm doing, but it's working out yourself and really understanding like, oh, like it's okay, like I'm going to learn stuff now and I'm going to move forward so that I can become this person who's doing the rest of the stuff. So I think that that's fantastic, and I'm glad you had that experience as a caddy. I know myself, even as a golfer now. I used to play baseball and retired, and now I golf. Haven't had a lot of caddies or anything, but I know if you shoot that distance wrong and the dude flies the green or something, I mean that could be an interesting conversation. So there is some pressure there, just like in entrepreneurship, I'd say.
Yeah, I've been guilty of that, doing that once or twice.
Myself as well. I'll shoot my own distance, and the next thing I know, it's way past the green. I'm like, oh, geez, that's not good. Yeah.